Bang. And we're live. Bang. And we're live. That was good timing this time. No little delay in between Instagram and YouTube. Welcome, everybody. Episode 104. Gonna try my best to stay on track here, because I think if we all know, I think I'm a little excited about this one. So, just gonna give it a quick check, make sure we're going on YouTube. We are. We're recording for the podcast. We're live on Instagram. Oh my goodness, do we have a good one today? Should we get right into it? Let's do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, episode 104. And guess what? Of Dave's Dugout, Baylor Bears and Scott Drew are the national champions. Yeah, it's been a week. I'm still thrilled. I am so excited, and I think most of you are probably surprised if you follow me on Instagram that I didn't freak out more on my Instagram stories and all of that jazz. Maybe I'm a little superstitious. I didn't want to jinx anything. It's a long story about the build-up from last year that I'm going to get into. But believe me, on the inside, I was thrilled. And it's wasn't like I didn't do anything. I'm not excited for myself. I'm happy for Scott Drew, for all the Baylor alumni basketball players, anybody that's been involved in this process. Oh man, it's bitter. It's been a week. It's been over a week. We were waking up a week to, and some people maybe went to bed early. I don't know why you'd do that, but boy, oh boy, wow! Doing that little intro just got me pumped up and tired at the same time. That was a lot. It's gonna be really loud on the intro. Might have to edit that. All right, so for everybody watching live on YouTube, hopefully it sounds okay, looks okay. I think we're set up. It's looking good. I got some championship gear in the background. Got some basketballs. I got a Baylor pillow, Baylor hat, and a Big 12 championship shirt. I'm a little disappointed that my Final Four stuff hasn't come in yet at Fanatics. Come on, man. I bought that on Saturday. It's been had a week and a couple days. It's not supposed to get here until the 15th. Still 2 more days. Low-key, I was trying to wait to record the podcast or some apparel. At least the Final Four apparel. The championship stuff's not supposed to get in until the 30th. What is this delay? Amazon can get me stuff in 48 hours. What's up with this? It's just a t-shirt and a hat. I'm a little disappointed in that regard. So, before we get into things, timestamp on the podcast. It is Tuesday, April 13th. April? May? What month is it? I don't even know what month it is. That's terrible. It's April 13th. For some reason, I was thinking it was May because college basketball is over, but never mind. So, it's, I'm getting a sales call. That's great. No. Thank goodness I put my phone on silent. So, like I said, we're a week and a day away, and it's parade day in Waco. For anybody that's in Waco, gosh, I wish this was on a Saturday. I might have flown to Waco. COVID protocols allowed. That's a whole other thing. I wouldn't have been able to go anyway. But hey, at least some people in Waco get to celebrate. We're gonna start off like we usually do with a nice little shot. Even though it's a Tuesday morning, this is an odd time to be taking a shot. This is a basketball shot. But if you want to take a shot, and I don't know, maybe you're on vacation. Go for it. People listening to the podcast, you can be listening at any time. So if you're not listening live, drink up. I'll take a sip of coffee if I miss. You know the rules. If I make it, you all drink. So if you're watching live on YouTube, you can see the hoop. Oh God, that's the worst one so far. All right, so I guess I have to drink. Cheers, everybody. It's just coffee. Don't worry. Saturday podcast. It might have a little extra something in it, but. I still have to go to work later today. Got to do a whole podcast episode. Grind never stops. I don't have a watch on, but it's okay. So, obviously, I think most of us know. I want to get into some master stuff at the end, but I'm probably just gonna save it for another time if I end up going long on this. Because we're just gonna talk about the Final Four and the championship game and Baylor, and I had something off the top here. If I'm like sniffling and sneezing, I apologize. I just don't think my body knows how to react to spring anymore. I was actually doing the math the other day. I was thinking, I think I've lived in 6 different places out of the last 7 springs, like 6 different parts of the country. I think it was Waco, New Paltz, New York, Brooklyn, Plattsburgh, New York, up by Canada, Burlington, Vermont, and now Grand Junction. So that's 6 places, I think, in 7 years, because I graduated in 2016 and it's 2021. So I just don't think my body knows how to react to pollen anymore. I used to have an immunity, and now I'm just, I don't know. So it's been rough. We'll see. I feel like that's such a wimpy thing to complain about. It's like allergies. Like so much other worse stuff going on in the world. But yeah, I don't know. I've never had them until I turned into a gypsy. Shouts to Pops for calling me a gypsy. That was kind of funny on the phone the other day. So I kind of did it in the intro. Yelled Baylor and Scott Drew are the national champions, but that is the main headline today is Scott Drew and the Baylor Bears are national champions. And I phrase it like that on purpose. I think I tweeted that in all caps, like right when they won. Not just Scott Drew's a national champion, not just Baylor are the national champions. Like most people tweet, Baylor basketball won the national championship. Scott Drew and Baylor basketball won the national championship. I want to emphasize both of those. And then under that umbrella is anyone that's been involved. And I guess now that while I'm thinking of it, Scott Drew is maybe one of the best people to do that. I mean, the guy sent the very next day after the Final Four, after the national championship, a piece of the net and a handwritten letter, not a handwritten letter, a letter, signed letter, to anyone that's ever played for him in the last 18 years and said, you're part of this. I think they did a similar thing when they won the Big 12 championship. I think he sent everybody a text. It just shows you that, like, if you don't know, Scott Drew is just one of the nicest people ever. I'm not going to say I've worked with the program for all these years, but I have been a Baylor basketball fan for over 10 years now. Like I said, I mean, I graduated 6 years ago now. Gosh, that sounds crazy. And then I was at school for 4 years. I knew about Baylor at least 2 years before that. Ironically, I had never heard of Baylor until I was maybe like a sophomore in high school. And you have to credit Scott Drew. For me, finding out about Baylor, I mean, because I'm a March Madness nut, ever since, I think I've always said like 8th grade, I think I really started diving in and printing out brackets. I remember having is it manila envelope or vanilla? Is it a vanilla envelope? I have no idea. Is it a manila envelope or a vanilla? I don't even know if I'm saying manila right. Is it vanilla, manila, or other? Somebody please let me know what that is, because I don't know that word. But I used to have all my brackets in there, and I remember being in math class. I mean, maybe that's why I had to get algebra. Gosh, I hope my mom's not listening to that part. I was definitely not filling out March Madness brackets in math class. That was not true. I was exaggerating. Winky face. But hey, look, I made it. Not quite yet, but we'll get there. Anyway, gosh, I get off on tangents. Scott Drew. Me saying I've been around the program for a long time. So I've interned for the local ESPN station in Waco, Texas, local TV station in Waco, Texas. When I was at the local TV station, we used to get to go to the post-game press conferences, and we'd cut the press conferences. I remember cutting an interview of Scott Drew. I mean, so I've met him. I don't know. He certainly wouldn't remember me, but. And then another thing is I used to wait tables to get through college. I waited tables on the side at Johnny Carino's, an Italian restaurant in Waco, Texas, and I waited. Did I wait on him or I was in the same section that he was in? I don't actually think I waited on him, but he was 2 waiters in this section, and Scott Drew sat in our section. So I'm filling up waters and stuff for him, and the nicest human. just like a random, I don't know, it was a Friday night, Wednesday night. Him and his wife, the nicest human. Like, I'm not like, okay, one of the nicest humans. Okay. People say that all the time about people, like how nice they are. Some people just give off that aura about them that they're just nice. Like, I don't even know if people say it about me. I know people just say I smile a lot. I don't know if that means I'm nice. Maybe just mean I'm happy. Scott Drew is like that, but like just nice. Not to smile happy. He's just like genuinely nice. And like I think I've heard other people on other podcasts say like they don't. I don't know if they've ever heard him like be mean or yell. Like yeah, he yells at his players, but not like a "What the f are you doing?" yell. It's like a "Get back on defense" yell. Like um, I don't even have like a specific. I don't know. Just watch a press conference, man. He's just like even his voice is nice. It's not high pitched. Like mine's kind of high pitched when I get excited. His is I don't know. He's just the nicest dude. And I've heard from multiple people, just an absolute grinder when it comes to film and just hard work. Just never stops. Always watching film. Um, Obviously, he's been successful, so I think you could probably directly correlate those two things. Um, it's it's amazing. Um, yeah, gosh, I even remember their strength and conditioning coach reached out to us one time when I was the vice president of the Baylor lacrosse team, and they were trying to find out different ways to like train the guys because they were getting kind of sick of the weight room. It's like we gotta switch things up. So they're trying to play different sports to work different muscles, and the team actually came out and played with us when I remember it was the year like Rico Gathers and those guys were there. And those guys put on lacrosse gear for the first time ever. It was hilarious, man. It was fun. Obviously, all of us remember that because we're like, oh, cool. We like practice with the basketball team. We're just a club team. That's dope. So, just I don't think you hear that about a lot of programs that have like that kind of not that they were national champions then, but they were a successful program to let their team like go out and play lacrosse. Like most places are like, don't you dare go snowboarding. Don't you dare like play basketball on the side like at a gym. Like don't get hurt. Like everybody's so afraid of like they let the kids have fun. And like it was. I always thought that was a cool, unique thing that they did. I don't know. That's a side tangent too. But like I said, parade day for anybody who cares about watching the parade in Waco tonight. They're live streaming it on Facebook, 6 p.m. Central Time if you watch this in time. If you're watching the live stream right now, and brief commercial break while I take a sip of coffee here, and we'll get into the game because that's the main thing, right? Um, man, oh man. So, try not to let the checklists bother me too. I don't know if that goes along with my whole spring rant before, but something ain't right, man. Something ain't right. Um, but you know what is right? Is Baylor winning this game. This was. I don't want to say I told you so, but I kind of told you so. I mean, preseason, number one team in the Davis Dugout, top 14, the Baylor Bears. And maybe a lot of what I'm about to say, you can call it a Baylor bias, but I really don't think it is. It might be more attention to detail of a program most people didn't pay attention to, so they just didn't know. So is it a Baylor bias? Yes, because why was I paying so much attention to the program? Because I like it and I follow it. So there's a yes and a no to that. So right team to follow at the right time, maybe. Um, maybe I was following Arkansas basketball these years, and now I could say, I've been saying, I don't know why that's an example I picked, but I've been saying that they're going to be good, cause, whatever. So, this is a team that's made the Elite Eight twice in the last however many years. And the teams they lost to in those Elite Eights were Duke and Kentucky. And I believe both of them went on to win the national championship or at least come close to it. Or they were the number one overall seeds. They were definitely one seeds. So Scott Drew's been 2 games away from the Final Four before having to play Duke and Kentucky teams who were number one seeds. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying these are like just things you go back and look at and you're like, wow, this guy's been like really good the last 10 years, if not more. I mean, all the Sweet 16s they've been to. Maybe one time, was it 2 times? They got upset in the tournament, and one time gave us that viral moment of, oh my gosh, Taurean Prince with the rebounds. And they're like, how did Yale out-rebound Baylor? And he's like, they went up, they grabbed the ball off the rim, they came down with it. It's considered a rebound. They did that more than us. And that was it, and that was the answer. And it was like a sarcastic answer. It was hilarious. It went viral. And you know what? That was Makai Mason for Yale went off. Guess who transferred to Baylor like the next year or 2 years later? Makai Mason, and was a baller for Baylor. So that just says something. Like, Yale beats Baylor. He goes off in that game, and Baylor somehow recruits that guy to play for the team that he beat? How do you do that? Hey, remember that team that you guys like crushed in March Madness that wasn't very good? I'm not that we weren't very good, but like, you want to join that team? I was supposed to say no. I dropped 30 on you. Why would I join your team? Well, he did. And had great success. Like, he was great. He was a great transfer. We've seen great transfers at Baylor here. Obviously, we can talk about all the guys here this year, but this is just, it's all under the same Scott Drew underrated umbrella. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I've been saying he should be the coach of the year the last however many years. I mean, Baylor's been picked in the 6, 7, 5 in the Big 12 to finish, and they come just behind Kansas, or they're just fantastic. And Bill Self gets to play, just the Big 12's been so good. Another side tangent: the Big 12 is the best conference in basketball. It always has been. The last 8 years, 12 years. I was trying to say it all year, but didn't really have the cojones to say it. Now, I mean, after that performance it's not even close. I don't care what the metrics say. Big Ten stunk in the tournament. I don't care if you can say they were better in the regular season, which I don't think that's true. It's just not. It's just the Big 12 has been the best. Like, what? Because the season got cut short last year. Somehow the Big 12 got worse. No. Stop. Just because they have 16 teams and the Big 12 has 10, like, it doesn't mean that they're better. So the depth is not better. Anyway, that's a whole topic for another day. Let's start with the game. I mean, the game, obviously, you've probably had a week. I've tried to listen to like as many podcasts as I can about it. Tyson Tate, Ion College Basketball Podcast, what do they call it? The greatest podcast, the world's greatest podcast with Greenberg and Darkic. And they all say the same thing. Baylor absolutely dominated. And it's true. I mean, and the other takeaway. The other takeaway from the game is just that was the most surprising outcome I think anyone could have guessed. First guess, probably most people would have said Gonzaga wins by single digits. Like that 5-9 range. Next guess, Gonzaga wins by double digits like they've been doing everybody all year, right? Next guess, it's going to be a close game. One of the teams is going to win by 2 or 3 points. And you're like, okay, that's where the spread was. That's probably what most people thought. We're going to have a good game, best national championship game, most highly anticipated championship game in a long time, if ever. We're going to have a close 1-2 possession game. Next take might be Baylor's going to win by 5. Baylor's going to win by 4. Baylor's going to cover the spread. Baylor's going to win by 9? I don't even know if I was saying that. There are many people out there that were saying that. Baylor's going to win by double digits? I don't think anybody was saying that. Why would you? Baylor's going to dominate by over 15 points, start out 9-0, have a 16-4 lead a minute into the game, like just absolutely act like they're playing a YBA team. That's the most surprising outcome you could have possibly picked. Is Baylor to just absolutely dominate from the first second of the game to the tip. Like, it was not close ever. Like, I like, even just saying that out loud just sounds crazy. It was not close. I'm still shocked. I thought it was going to be a good game. And we're talking about a team in Gonzaga that people were pegging as one of the best college basketball teams we've ever seen. And Baylor absolutely crushed them. Crushed them in the most convincing way possible. It's not Baylor had a freaky game and they made 15 threes. Gonzaga had an off shooting night. Not like somebody got hurt. You know, there was always that West Virginia. That's the only team that hung in single digits. Well, it's because Jalen Suggs was out. You maybe could say Jalen Suggs was in a little foul trouble. But I think you could also, as much as you could say that, you could almost argue it was Baylor's defense that did that. So, like, those kind of wash each other out. But then again, Jalen Suggs was, like, he that night, he was Gonzaga's best player. I mean, he was the only one who was, like, putting up, like, fighting back against Baylor, really, when you look at it that way. First play of the game. I mean, Mark Vital. 2 offensive rebounds? I mean, they shoot, they miss, Mark Vital gets it. He shoots, he misses, Mark Vital gets it again. I think from that play, I'm like, holy crap. Like, Gonzaga was like, damn. We don't, like, the boys in the West Coast Conference don't offensive rebound like Mark Vital, baby. The villain. Mark Vital, shouts to you. That was awesome. We're talking about a kid who, he said that he was going to go to Baylor. People said it's like 8th grade or whatever it was, early high school. I mean, he committed to Baylor early on. And for him to get this, I'm more happy for him than almost anybody else, man. That was amazing. Shouts to you, Mark. I know he reposted my Instagram story. He's retweeted me a couple times. We were both up at like 3 in the morning and saying something about not being able to sleep. And so, dude, I'm so happy for you. Thank you for what you did. If we don't get to see you in a Baylor uniform again. And then here's a take. I'm stealing from Titus and Tate, so credit to you guys. Titus and Tate is... they were talking about how just Baylor from the get-go, they had that, like, yard dog mentality where just, like, they were going to win this game. It was just a mindset. They just wanted it more. They came out with more energy, the toughness, the rebounding, just everything. They were like, Baylor would have beat them in any sport. They're like, they could have been like, hey, guys, like, COVID, we can't play the basketball game. You guys have to play in pickleball. They said something along these lines. And they were like, Baylor was like, all right, I don't know the rules, but we're gonna whoop their ass. Like, we're gonna beat them in pickleball. Like, I died laughing when Titus and Tate said that. And that, like, I didn't think of that as not my take, but that's so funny, and I think it's so true. Like, they just came out, and they're like, we're gonna beat these guys. We're gonna, like... And then another thing, I actually think this is from Titus and Tate, I'm kind of stealing from them, is that Baylor was in such a unique situation. They were a 1 seed. They were one of the best teams all year. They were always number 2, but they were the underdogs. It's like you're talking about one of the best teams in the country being an underdog. And like that, like they said, is a dangerous combination. Like, that's rare. To be in the national championship game and be the second best team in college basketball all year long and to be the underdog in the championship game, it's a very rare and unique situation. And Gonzaga was the exact opposite. I mean, they had the media asking them every day, undefeated season, don't blow it. They almost blew it in the Final Four. They buzzer beater. Jalen Suggs highlighted the tournament. Like, this is going to go down in history. It's meant to be. Like, wow, how do you come off that high a day later and then you get punched in the mouth by Mark Vital getting 2 or 3 offensive rebounds on the first play of the game? You're like, holy shit. You're like, wow, how are we going to play these guys? We just busted our asses and played an 11th seed UCLA team. That's another, like, And believe, I had Gonzaga, I thought Gonzaga was great. You watch them play, they were great. All year, they're great. I mean, you get those haters that are like, they don't play anybody. They did play people this year. Um, they were supposed to play Baylor this year. They played Iowa, who, well, I guess, wasn't as great as we all thought, but West Virginia was a great team. I mean, they played a lot of people. They played Kansas and beat them. Um, but in March, they had the easiest path I think I've ever seen. And one's not easy, but I think when we look at them now, I mean Baylor's path is much harder. And everybody's like, "Oh, Gonzaga's beating everybody by double digits in the tournament." I said on the podcast with Aiden, I think their toughest game is going to be Oklahoma, who's a coin flip to win their first game, an 8-9 game. I was like, I don't even know. And Oklahoma was hurt. Their second best scorer was out. And I was like, I still think Oklahoma is going to give Gonzaga this is an Oklahoma team who broke a record for beating the most, what was it, top 5 or top 10 teams ever in a month or something stupid. That was a good Oklahoma team. 8 seed. And then and that was the best game that they played in the first half. Gonzaga pulled away like they did against everybody. But, I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but they played an 8 seed. Here, we actually have a bracket down here. They played 8 seed Oklahoma. Virginia lost to Ohio. So who did they play? Then they played Creighton, who was a 5 seed, who I said was going to be okay. Then they played USC. I mean, I don't think anybody saw that. So a 6 seed. Then they played an 11 seed. They didn't play anyone higher than 5th seed Creighton. A 5th seed Creighton team that most people had going out in the 12 versus 5 game in the first round. That was the best team they played until they played Baylor. Now, on the other end, you look at Baylor. They played a Wisconsin team who, granted, wasn't playing great all season long, but they were a top 5 team in the preseason. Then they played a Villanova team who, again, lost a few star players, but guess what? They were the number 3 team in the preseason poll. Then they played an Arkansas team who I thought should have been a 2 seed, was a 3 seed. I think they should have been the 2 seed over Ohio State, and look what happened there. Dave's never right, though. Arkansas makes it to the Elite 8. Ohio State loses in the first round. I don't know what I'm talking about, though. Then they play a Houston team who I had in the top 14, top 10, top 8 almost all year long. They beat everybody by double digits except for the Arkansas team that was a 2 seed, quote unquote, and they beat them by 9. It's just barely not double digits. Also, I had that game at minus 9.5. So thanks for the half a point loss on that one. I think that's the only Baylor bet I lost all tournament because I got a little cocky. I was like, you know what? They're going to win by double digits. Whatever. It's all good. It's all good. We won the chip. The ship. The chip. Is it the chip or the ship? Did we win the ship or the chip? I don't care. Scotch is the captain of the ship or the chip. It's all that matters. It's all that matters. A couple more things on this game. Believe me. Believe me. We're not even close to being done yet. And I only have 15 minutes before I got to go. Well, that's not true. I can rush. Getting ready. I hope I'm not bugging you. And this is the thing about last year, or this year. I didn't want to bug people on my stories. I think last year I did it a little more. And I'm sorry if you're watching this live stream. This is killing me. My lips are peeling. It's insane. I feel like a snake. So we'll get into this. This wasn't next on my little list I have here, but last year, the year that got cut short, I thought Baylor was very, 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 very good. I knew they were going to be all year. And I knew Kansas was going to be. I remember one of the takes I was wrong on was Florida, the Florida Gators. I thought they were going to be really good. So early in the season, I knew because of the schedule, I wasn't going to be able to make the Baylor versus Kansas game at the end of the year. Ended up being College game day, ended up being a fantastic game. But I knew I wasn't going to make that. So I was like, what's another great game I can go to and make it? Maybe top 5, top 10 teams in the country. Baylor versus Florida, at Florida. My parents are in Florida. The times all work out. I'm living in Vermont. I buy plane tickets. I buy tickets to the Florida game. Make a nice long weekend out of it. I go visit my parents on the other side of Florida We go to the Florida Gators game. It was a fantastic game. Kind of what happened in this national championship game. Florida came out and punched Baylor in the mouth. Baylor came back and won the game. It was an unranked Florida team at the time, but it was a team that had potential, and they showed it in that game. Didn't really get talked about that much. It was just, oh, Baylor's another win. They were the number one team in the country at the time, if I believe. And guess Scotty Lewis, I thought was going to have a great year this year. And Andrew Nemhard was on that team. Does that name sound familiar? Andrew Nemhard? He's on Gonzaga now. So Andrew Nemhard's gotten the worst end of that stick twice now from Baylor. And at halftime, I wouldn't be surprised if he was in like I'm making this up just trying to be funny. Like, guys, like, this Baylor team's good, man. I played them last year in the swamp. They kicked our asses, man. We gave them all we had. We were supposed to be a top 5 team. Like, Baylor kicked our ass. They're doing it again, man. Andrew Nemhard probably had his head down in the locker room. That's why they didn't have a shot coming out at halftime. Andrew Nemhard was like, bros, we're screwed, man. We ain't winning this. So, that's my hot take on that. Andrew Nemhard, no, like, I'm sorry. Like, I think you're a great guy. Like, I don't know you, but, like, I'm sorry. It's just you have to, like, a little correlation there. But, so, like, and this is all last year. I mean, the hype train is real, man. I think Baylor's a real deal. They beat Kansas in Kansas for the first time ever. Scott Drew had never done it. Baylor had never done it. Not many people do it. Like 10 or 12 teams have beaten Kansas in Kansas in the last 18 years. It's something stupid. Like, they don't lose they don't lose at Allen Fieldhouse ever. Rarely. So Baylor whopped them, too, in that game. I think they won by, like, 20. That game was insane. You're like, Baylor's a real deal. And that was when they went on that 23-game winning streak, longest in Big 12 history. This is all last year. Dave buys Final Four tickets. Dave buys a flight to Atlanta. Dave buys a hotel in Atlanta. I'm a huge college boy. I will love the Final Four no matter what. I've been in the national championship before in Houston. I just want to go no matter what. I buy the tickets because I'm like, I want to go, and there's a chance Baylor can make it. Fingers crossed. I'm not going to jinx anything. But if I can go to the Final Four and Baylor can be there, this will be the greatest thing ever. That got taken away. And not to make this about me, but that was devastating. Like, this is like the biggest event. Like, I love college basketball. So I can't imagine. I put how I felt on a plate, and I try to put myself in these players and coaches, and it still to this day makes me sick. Like, I don't know how these kids bounced back from that. And then we come all these years later, all these days, weeks, months, a year later, over a year later, and you have these kids stuck in a hotel in Indianapolis for weeks. 3 weeks. They can't leave the hotel. They went to a zoo. They took teams like Illinois and all these teams went to the Indianapolis Zoo. They're college kids going to March Madness. They don't want to go to the effing zoo. I just almost dropped an F-bomb. I should have. Who the wants to go to the zoo? I mean, this is what they're... Baylor was live streaming Connect 4 tournaments from their hotel. That's how bored these kids were. This year sucked for everybody. Like, and the only reason you kept going was for a chance to win the national championship. And it sucks that there's 68 teams trying to do that and only one can. Like, that really sucks that 67 teams have to lose their season have to end their season on a loss. When you look at it from that perspective, and that's why we get the one shining moments. You have people jumping up and down from buzzer beaters, and they've always said this. Then you have the other team in tears. And it's like the great thing about sports and why we all love it so much. It's so much emotion and it's so opposite. Like a little ball going through a hoop can mean so much in totally opposite ways for so many different people. So for Baylor to go through all of this, I mean, obviously I'm going to speak on Baylor because they're the ones who ended up winning. Being stuck in a hotel for 3 weeks, not being allowed to go anywhere. They had to get food. This is all year, too. I mean, traveling. When you're traveling, this is not a normal year. People forget this. They had to get their food delivered. Like, shout out to all the people who had to, like, all the planning, all the people who had to bring these kids food all year. I mean, they couldn't even get, like, I don't know this for for real, but I don't even know if they were allowed to order delivery from like wherever they wanted. I think they had to get food delivered from like certain protocols. Like, so you couldn't just get a random pizza guy that like had it and spread it to people. Like, I don't even think they could do that. So I can't even. So for them to go through all of that is insane. I mean, this is one of the. I mean, this has to be one of the most challenging March Madness tournaments we've ever seen. I mean, I think that goes overlooked. It's this is by no means easy, and we can all make fun of it. Uh, they just did it for money. Whatever, yada yada. There's truth to that. There's not truth to that. I think we know my take on that sometimes, but we got it done. A great team won. And here's a take I wanted to. I think I had written down too is this Baylor team could have done this last year. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Baylor fan. This is like a legitimate take of mine last year would have been Baylor. Baylor is one of the. I don't know if I would have said they would have won like I did this year. This year I had them in the Final Four and I had them winning. I had them beating Gonzaga. I don't know if I would have done that last year. I think a lot of people would have had Baylor versus Kansas and Kansas winning, and maybe I just would have done Baylor because I'm a Baylor fan. And I wouldn't have put that out of the realm of possibility. I mean, Baylor beat Kansas by however many in Kansas. Then Kansas won by, I think it was 2 or 3 points in Waco on College Game Day in a great game. So I mean, maybe they would have met in the Big 12 tournament, and then probably not, and then maybe they would have met in the championship, and that's what we were all kind of hoping. And I don't know. Do you take the team that won by 2 in one game, or do you take the team that won by 20? I mean, round 3 winner take all. I might take the team that has the most recent loss and won the first one by 20. And the thing with that team is they were the same team. This was the same team this year, minus essentially, I mean, not to like Freddie Gillespie. And Freddie Gillespie started over Flo Thamba. And Flo Thamba was the 5th starter this year. So for people that don't think this team was that good last year, I mean, you forget because the season got canceled, Baylor was extremely good last year. You could almost argue Baylor was better last year with Freddie Gillespie. Because Freddie Gillespie, like I just said, no shots at Flo Thamba at all. But he was on the team. Freddie Gillespie started. And guess what? Freddie Gillespie now, just a couple days ago, this is great timing, he's on the Toronto Raptors now. So we're talking about an NBA talent kid was on Baylor's team last year. This isn't a team that could have done this? Baylor legitimately could be back-to-back national champions right now. Would they have had the chip on their shoulder? Would they have lost because they had already won? You never know. I mean, like that I get. And that's why I'm not claiming back-to-back champions. But it's like a legitimate possibility. That's just one take. Here's another thing I wanted to say about the team. This is a take from Fran Fraschilla from last year. And I loved it. That was hilarious. He said this in a broadcast. He's like, Baylor has more guards than Buckingham Palace. And last year, same team. Three-headed monster at the guard position. And what does everybody say every other year except for this year? And I know it's because Gonzaga was the headline, and you have to push the headlines to make clicks, right? And you want to hype up the undefeated team so people watch. Because there was no Kentucky, there was no Duke, there was no Kansas made it. There's no Michigan State ended up kind of making it. Wasn't there another one? Another blue blood? No, missing? Who am I missing? Anyway, we didn't have Duke and Kentucky and whatever. So we got Gonzaga's undefeated. We got to hype them up. What do people usually say? You watch bracketology. Like I probably have it recorded on DVR somewhere from 3 years ago. Guards in March. Guards in March. You want good guard play come March. What was everybody saying about Baylor the last 2 years? They have more guards than Buckingham Palace. They have the best guards in the country. They have a three-headed monster. Like, blah, blah, blah. Where was that this year? You want guards in March. You want guards in March. I'm trying to tell people Baylor's really good. They're probably just as good, if not better, than Gonzaga. You want guards in March. Baylor has 3 of them. 4 of them. Adam Flagler coming off the bench. Where was this? And I can say it now. Like, I didn't want to say it, and I didn't say it on the podcast because I didn't want to jinx anything. Now I can say it. What? Wait, why did that narrative just disappear this year? Because Gonzaga was undefeated? That's the only reason I can come up with. So Baylor had the best guards. That usually means something. If it would have been Duke, Duke had 3 great guards, and we're like, oh, Duke has the best guards in the country. You gotta watch out for Duke. Duke's can win the national championship. But it's Baylor. It's scrubby little Baylor. I've wanted to say that take for so long. Jim Rome, thank you. And it was about the football team. But I wanted to post that throughout this whole thing, but I didn't. Scrubby little Baylor. It's a little Christian school in Texas. Who cares? That's what it is. It always has been. Baylor's been great at football before. It doesn't get the headlines. Baylor's been great at basketball. We don't get the headlines. We're not Duke. We're not. I get it. It's fine. I like it. I love the underdog role. I always have. I'm so happy I went there. Like it's like in hindsight, like I could have never seen this. I didn't know that was when I went there. I didn't know we'd have this underdog role all the time. Love it though. Absolutely love it. Another thing, the 3-point shooting. Duke has always been like Duke in the tournament. Live and die by the 3. Duke's a great 3-point shooting team. Duke's a bad 3-point shooting team, but if they get hot, watch out. They might be national champions. Baylor, best 3-point shooting team in the country. Not top 5, not top 10, not top 20. Number 1. Almost all year long. Number 1. They were the best 3-point shooting team in the country. Where was this talk? Live and die by the 3. If they get hot in March, watch out. I never heard that. And then you put on a top 3 defense. This was a team that was a top 3 offense and defense in the country until they got the COVID pause. Then for some reason, KenPom, not to throw KenPom under the bus, but like their defense fell to 30. That was absurd because of 2 games. I don't know why that shouldn't have affected that much, but it did. I would love to see the numbers. If you take out Baylor's 2 games after COVID, what was Baylor's efficiency ratings? I think they were still up there with Gonzaga, if not better. Because right before the COVID pause, Baylor was jumping. Every time they played a game, Baylor would be number 1, Gonzaga would be number 1. It was whoever played a game that night. And I've always said, this was a weird year. I mean, you can't, there's so many things that we can't even control. I mean, VCU didn't get to play a game. How messed up is that? We don't even talk about that. I highlighted that game in orange in my bracket, my paper bracket. Oregon got to just move on. Has that ever happened? There are things that we can't, analytics can't, I don't know what I'm trying to say. You can't put numbers and stuff on this stuff because it's never happened before. We don't. There's so many factors, and that's why picking a perfect bracket's impossible. I mean, there's just so many factors that go into it. How are the kids going to react to this year being stuck in a hotel room for 3 weeks? I mean, how do you put all that stuff into... I thought this computer was going to die. Restart later. Don't restart now. How do I do this? Restart tonight. No, just go away. I don't want to pick an option right now. So those are the points. Without sounding like an a-hole, I wanted to get out that I couldn't get out before the tournament because I didn't want to jinx anything. I wanted to talk up Baylor without, watch out for us. We have great guards and we're good at 3-point shooting. We're going to win. You just sound stupid. So I had to have an outlet to finally do it. I talked about their path. I talked about me being with the team, and Scott Drew's been there for 18 years. Jerome Tang, I wanted to give a shout out. He's been there all 18 years as one of Scott Drew's assistants, if not the assistant. So thank you. I've talked about Scott Drew being an underrated coach for years. Here's a tweet from John Rothstein I wanted to share with everybody. This was from minutes after they won the national championship. Scott Drew has led Baylor from purgatory to ecstasy. The Bears left no doubt. As good of a national title performance we've ever, in all caps, seen. All caps, dominant. And at every pause I just did there was a period. That's John Rothstein on the Twitter. Then he also tweeted his Baylor, the original renovation. I'm wearing the t-shirt right now. If you're watching live. I love this. The original, John Rothstein, this is great. All his little slogans and stuff are funny and good. And this one, I know you've probably heard it before. I'm not going to get into depth into what happened. But the Baylor program was like, you could essentially almost say not a basketball program when Scott Drew took it over. They had NBA sanctions. They had no scholarships. I don't know if the NCAA had to say they couldn't play in March. They self-proclaimed it, whatever. No postseason bans, whether it was self-inflicted or put upon them. Scott Drew, first couple of years, had to have walk-on tryouts. He just had a bunch of walk-on. Like, there was literally another Baylor basketball player murdered another Baylor basketball player. Like, this is like, that's outside of basketball. That's just like, that is terrible, crazy. I mean, I don't know what the words are you use for that. It's a human problem, like a travesty. Like, that is not a good thing. And Scott Drew takes over this program. And I had never seen this clip before, but it started rolling that week of the Final Four of Scott Drew's original, very first press conference at Baylor. He's like, I didn't come to Baylor to just win games. He's like, I came to win in March, and we came to win a national championship. Who says that? For a team that won like single-digit games, that doesn't have any scholarships, that has a postseason ban, that's dealing with murder trials, let alone NCAA sanctions, and you come out on your first day on the job and say, we're going to win a national championship? What? He's crazy. Like, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard in hindsight now. 18 years later. It took him 18 years. He's stuck at the same job. How is that not one of the most incredible comebacks ever? I'm going to go ahead now and say, I've said it's one of in years past. This is the best rebuild in sports history. People say in college basketball history. Name another program. I mean, I don't know every sports history to like date, but I'm pretty sure I would know about most of them. What's another team that was that bad, coming in last in their conference, like that, just bad? Hadn't like the 1950s were the last time they made a like a Final Four, and now they're national championships, Final Four contenders 2 years in a row. They've been ranked number one like 4 of the last 5 years in the AP poll, whatever it is. I mean, you could list all these stats. You always see the graphics now sometimes too. It's like you throw up Kansas, Duke, and like Baylor's just in there. Nobody mentions it, but it's like, hey, look, these are the 5 teams that have yada 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 been ranked in blah blah for however many years. It's like it's usually Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, and Baylor. I feel like I'm forgetting one again, but Scott Drew, it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. So I gave my shout out to Freddie. I talked about the Florida Gators. So I guess the last thing I wanted to hit on, this is hot take, Dave. Ready? I mean, get ready, people. I mean, this is, I don't think many people agree with me, and I don't know why this is so controversial. I do know why it's controversial. The media makes it controversial. It's not. It's not, I don't know, whatever card you want to, 2021 card you want to throw on it. That's not the problem it is. Here we go. Regarding the NBA draft, and this is not just me being selfish and wanting Baylor players to play again. I'm going to kind of quote Gary Parrish here for a little bit. He always says, I don't tell people what to do. I don't want to tell people what to do. I don't know their life. That's not my job to tell people what to do. But I can give my opinion on what I think I would do. I think even saying what they should do is a little too much. And a lot of people do that. You turn on whatever channel, I'm not going to say, and people saying, he should go get his money. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not your job. It's to tell me what they should do. You can say what I would do, or what I guess you can say what I think they should do, but you shouldn't tell somebody what they should do. What I would do if I were you. You can say that. But they shouldn't do this. Anyway, the NBA draft, for some reason, it's the NBA pushing it, it's big money pushing it. They want players in the NBA for obvious reasons. You want the best players in the NBA, I guess, as soon as possible so you can sell more tickets, make more money. I don't know what it is. We've lost the college basketball stay in college. There are a lot of reasons people go to college: to become a better man, to become a better person, to become a, to get educated, to play basketball, to do all of those things, to do more than that, to have a college experience. That's another thing. This Baylor team in the Final Four, usually you get to go back to campus for a week and celebrate. You get to be like all four of those teams: Houston, UCLA, Baylor, and Gonzaga. All should have got to go back to campus and celebrate for a week. And then they usually go to the Final Four destination. This year, they all just sat in their hotel. Usually, you get to walk around with your Final Four hats. You get to be the guy on campus. Like, I don't know, for people who didn't go to a D1 school, when you see D1 football players and basketball players walk by, not just me, like other people, you look like it's like that's when your team's doing good. Like, there's an aura around the team. Like when you're making a bowl game, or when you're like, go to Alabama, you don't think those guys walking in the cafeteria get like people going woo, or standing? They might get standing applauses. Like, I don't even know, standing ovations. I don't know, but it's crazy. It's crazy. It's cool. It's like, and everybody. That's why I love college sports so much, is because it's like, I've always said it about sports, brings everybody together. The Olympics specifically brings all Americans together. College sports brings everybody that went to that college together. I don't care what race you are, what gender you are. If you all went to Baylor, you're all excited when Baylor's doing well. So there's this aura around campus when your team is doing so well. They didn't get to go back to campus this year. They just stayed in Indiana. So, I mean, that's just one of the many things that gets thrown on this. And the media just pushes for everybody to go straight into the NBA. And I don't know what it is, because, like I said, I'm not here to tell people what to do. From my personal experience, college was some of the best 4 years of my life. I think there was a question on a questionnaire I put one time, like, one thing you missed the most, or I don't think it was biggest regret. It was, yeah, one thing you missed the most. I just put college, period. College was, I don't know, if other people had that much fun in college, I did. So to tell college kids that they should only go to college for 1 year and then they should just go to the NBA, I personally just don't agree with that. There are certain scenarios where, yes, like if you want the money, if you like, it should be so based on person by person, and it's not for some reason. I don't know why we push, like, if you need money and you want to go get money, like, then that should be what we're pushing for people. And I get it. It's a very, especially if you're going to be a top 10 pick in the NBA, it's a very unique way or experience to get millions and millions of dollars, like life-changing money that not many of us get an opportunity to see, that opportunity to make that much amount of money at that young of an age. That's an extraordinary opportunity. So there are a lot of people that should probably jump on that opportunity. I don't think we should push that on people. And the headline today is, I know this is so controversial. I usually don't do this, but at some point you have to stand up for what you think. Is this like we act like these college kids are in these terrible situations? They're like, oh, they're getting taken advantage of. They're not making money. Do I think they should make money off jersey sales? Yeah, I'm not stupid. I agree with a lot of this stuff. But to say that they're not getting what they deserve, I mean, they get more free apparel than they know what to do with. I mean, you follow some of the players on Instagram, they're giving the stuff away for free. They're selling it. What do you do with all that? Like, they get free, like, have you ever seen the gyms and the separate cafeterias? Have you ever seen any of the facilities at D1 schools? They're incredible. It's like some of the nicest stuff you've ever seen. You go to a regular school. I mean, you walk into a cafeteria at Baylor. My parents were like, "This is where you're gonna eat lunch every day." It's insane. It's so nice. You go to the athletic facility, it's times 10. It's like scholarships. A lot of these players are getting to go to school for free. Is that not, like, that's a lot? I wish I could have had that. I'm not good enough at basketball, so I didn't. Like it's not like to to say you should have to go to the NBA after a year or after 2 years. I think is a narrative that people are pushing too far. We've just come we've done that on a lot of things recently in our society. Where I think we should meet in the middle. I've always said this. There are people, you should stay for all 4 years. I'm not pushing that. I don't think we should push it. They should only stay for one either. Person by person, go with. If you like college, like I'm speaking to everyone here. I'm speaking not just only to Mark Vidal, to Davion Mitchell, to Jared Butler. I'm talking to Luca Garza. I'm talking to Io DeSumo, Kofi Coburn. Luca Garza was in tears at the end of the season because he's not going to put on an Iowa jersey again. Well, guess what? The NCAA said everybody can come back next year. If I'm Luca Garza, and to hit on my point of what these kids went through this year, I'm coming back. And I'm shattering every college NCAA record ever. Because you know what? Last year, I had to sit in a hotel room and get food delivered to me all year. And I got half a season the year before that. Not half a season. I didn't get to finish my season the year before that. These kids sat, like, it wasn't terrible situations, but it probably sucked. And I've heard this take on, I don't remember what it was on, if it was on ESPN show or a podcast. A guy said, I wouldn't come back. He's like, after what I went through this year, having to sit in hotels, get food delivered to me, quarantine all the time, take tests every day. They get those things stuck up their nose every day. It's like, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't come back. For that reason, I would hope that we're past that by this point next year. And I would come back for that reason. Because I would want to play at Duke in front of the Cameron Crazies if I didn't get my chance this year. If I played at North Carolina, maybe you're not playing for Roy, but you're playing in front of thousands of fans again. Illinois fans, you don't want revenge on getting beat by another school from your own state in the first round? I would want Io and Kofi to come back as a fan. And if I was Io, okay, do I want to check for millions of dollars? Yes, I'm not stupid. I get it. It's tempting. Maybe I would do it. Maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. I haven't been put in that situation. This is a tough situation to put 20, 21-year-old kids in, and I don't think everybody thinks of that. That's a hard thing to put on somebody. Do you want to stay in college with all your friends and play basketball and be the guy on campus, or do you want to go be the rookie in the NBA and get pranked and not to crap on the NBA, but you're probably not going to be playing for that team in a few years. I mean, the way these guys get traded in the NBA is insane. College is a different story, especially if you go to a school like Baylor, Gonzaga, Villanova. You're joining like an elite club. I don't know for sure. From what I see, I don't think you're getting that in the NBA. Maybe there are teams that are really close in the NBA. I don't know. I don't think so. By the way, everybody moves around so much. There's nothing that points to that to prove me wrong. So, yes, on the one hand, are you going to make $35 million a year or whatever it's going to be? If you're a top 10 pick, yeah, probably. Is that what you want to do? And I think I tweeted this. Do you do what you do for a living because you enjoy it, because it makes you happy? Do you play basketball just to play basketball? Or do you do it to make an extraordinary amount of money that most of us can't even fathom that much money, let alone at 20 years old? If you do it for the money, do it for the money. If you're doing it because you like playing college, if you just like playing basketball, pick whatever you want. Pick if you want to play in the NBA, pick if you want to play college. No one's stopping the NBA. And the argument is injuries and man, you could get hit by a car, you can get in a car accident going to practice. And that's more likely than anything, especially for 20-year-olds texting and driving. That's more likely than getting a knee injury. I mean, ACLs tear at any moment. That could happen preparing for the NBA draft. If you're living your life in fear of injury, personally, I don't think you're living your life right. I don't think any of us should live in fear. I've always said this. You could get a heart attack, you could drop dead at any moment. You can get in a car accident. I mean, more people die from vending machines falling on them than shark attacks every year. You live in fear? Do you never order a soda from a vending machine because you're afraid that it could fall on you? And you're not going to play college basketball because you're afraid of tearing your ACL? then don't play. Then don't play basketball. Live in a bubble. We've all seen what the bubble life's like now. It's not great. Just live your life. If you get hurt, it sucks. It just happened to Donovan Mitchell with the Nuggets last night. He just tore his ACL, just jumping and coming down on the floor. Freak thing. Like, we can't control that stuff. You can't. One of the biggest decisions of your life, do I declare for the NBA draft, should be made on, oh, what if you get hurt? That shouldn't be how you make decisions. I don't think, personally. I mean, I hope I'm not going off on too much of a tangent here and offending people, but personally, I think college was the best time of my life. And I wasn't even a D1 athlete. If I'm a D1 athlete and I have something to prove, or I want to stay with my brothers for another year, another 2 years, I personally pick that option. Like, if you, and then on the flip side, if you want to go join the NBA because you're like projected to be the 8th pick and make X amount of millions of dollars, do it. Like, do it. If it, like I said, if you put those two options on the table, I don't know what I'd do. I would certainly talk to everybody I knew. I'd get their opinion. I would weigh both sides. But from my perspective, and maybe this is why I'm so biased, is I'm chasing a dream. I'm not making a lot of money. I'm 27 years old. And I'm still making less than people at McDonald's. Because there's just this goal I have in mind. And these kids are 20, and you're telling them that they can't stay in college because they have to make good money. Don't chase the money. I mean, this is not a controversial. This is a motivational quote you see all the time. Do what you love and the money will follow. Play basketball. Be good at basketball. Luka Garza, be the best person in your sport. Do what you love, and the money will follow. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes right. You don't get hurt. You have an even better season next year, and you make even more money. I don't know why that's not brought up more often. That's just as likely as tearing your ACL. That's more likely. Yeah, there's a chance you get hurt and you don't make any money. You don't get drafted. Like, that would suck. I don't wish that on anybody. It does happen. But on the flip side, you could do better. You could win back-to-back championships. Illinois could come back and win the national championship. Iowa could be the player of the year. Luka Garza could be the player of the year again. That's almost more likely than them, like, knock on wood. I don't want to wish anything upon anybody, but getting hurt and like, not getting drafted. I just think people should have more conversations about this and think about it both ways. And not just push this one and done narrative. And now, in hindsight, clearly it's working. Older college basketball teams with transfers and like they're successful. Look at Villanova. Look at Gonzaga. Look at Baylor. These are teams with seniors, with juniors, with redshirt juniors, redshirt seniors, grad transfers. It's like I don't. I don't know what else to say about it. I feel like I've been talking about it forever, but it's crazy that it's so one-sided. I hope I got my point across, and I hope you guys stuck with me through that. I want to clip this, and honestly, I wish, like, I don't want it to go viral for me. I wish it went viral because I just don't hear this enough. Somehow, I wish we could get this word out. Like, I wish someone else could do it. Like, shout out to Charles Barkley for getting his opinion out on the Final Four that one day, talking about politicians. Usually, I say, stay away from that. That's not why we talk about sports. But Charles Barkley was like, in my heart, I believe that. He's like, I believe there are some politicians out there that make people angry against each other on purpose. I truly do believe that, too. It's wrong. Are there probably good politicians? Yes, there's good everythings. People, that's like another thing people don't think. There's good and bad teachers. There's good and bad cops. There's good and bad college players. There's good and bad sports anchors. But I truly do believe there are politicians out there, and it's sad because those are the people running our country, that like intentionally instill fear and anger in people. That's the exact opposite of what I try to do here. I just try to be happy. I try to let people, you get a release in sports, go to the movies, get a release. Like, we all deserve it. Everybody needs an hour to just, like, watch the Avengers sometimes. It's, and like I said, in college sports, you see it in college football. Everybody that went to Alabama is rooting for Alabama. And it's like, there's no other feeling like that. And that's why college sports, I think, means so much. If the New York Knicks were any good, all of New York, whether you're homeless on the street wearing a Knicks hat, whether you're in a penthouse in Manhattan wearing Knicks gear, you'd be rooting for the Knicks if the Knicks were any good. It's that's what I love about sports, and I hope that's what the Olympics does this year. And I think it's a shame the Olympics got canceled last year, because that's one thing we can all be Americans. We can all come together and just root for America, no matter what's going on. And that's not like the happiest topic to end on, but this was a long episode. We'll get to the Masters next time because this, yeah, like I said, we've been going for a while. I've been talking for an hour with no commercial breaks, no nothing. My brain's like. Um, so anybody who watched live, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. If I bothered you talking about Baylor too much, I'm sorry, but uh, possibly a once in a lifetime opportunity. I hope not. Fingers crossed. But um, boy, it's I'm happy for the kids to come back full circle on this. Is I think the reason I didn't post this much this year as last year. Last year I was so excited. The Florida game, the Final Four tickets. This is kind of what I was building to. Is I was so excited last year. This year, I had like a little something in my head was like, you didn't want to get so excited because it like you knew it could be taken away, and I don't know how all these college kids dealt with that at 20 years old. That's crazy to me. So, for everybody in college this year, the NCAA for pulling it off. I know they get a lot of flack for doing a lot of things wrong, but even if your intentions weren't right for doing the tournament, I'm glad you did. Um, it was fantastic. We got to see a national champion crowned, and that's what all these kids do it for. Is for that opportunity. Um, I don't know if I even just got my point across like I wanted to. It was fantastic. Um, Kids, and we call them college kids. They're not kids, but I don't know why we call them college kids. They're young adults. Let them make these decisions. Somebody help them. I mean, family, friends. If you work at a university, you're a college assistant. Help these kids make these decisions for the NBA, for like to stay, to go. That can't be easy. Um, so yeah, it's wild to say the least, and I'm glad I got to do this. I wish I could. I had a show where I could just do this every day because I've had a week now where I've been I have my shower notes. I've been like making notes all week long, listening to podcast. Like I have so much that I wanted to say about this that like to get it all out in an hour. I hope I did. I know this always happens to me every time I'm like, oh, I wanted to say that. So on that end, just thanks again to everybody for watching and start a conversation. Agree, disagree. Let me know what we think. Crazy. I so I guess that'll do it. Like I said, I think I'm forgetting something, but we'll get out of here. Um, so everybody, episode 104. That is crazy. Scott Drew and the Baylor Bears are national champions. That's also crazy to say. And I hope we can have a normal season next year. Let's hope everybody gets vaccinated that wants to be, and we can just roll, baby. I heard the Colorado governor, somebody said, once everybody gets vaccinated that wants to get vaccinated, we're gonna have a normal summer. That is like a crazy thing to say. That gave me chills, and I hope that's true because let's go. Let's have it, North. Let's just get back, man. Politics aside, I don't care what side you're on. Let's shoot. Just if you want to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you don't, you don't. And then let's just be normal. That's all I gotta say. I hope everybody is having a great day, and I love you all. I hope I made you laugh. I made you smile. I hope you learned something. Maybe I hope you did something here. I hope I was worth your minutes watching, however long you watched for. Episode 104, Dave's Dugout. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys. See ya.